We are about to see an explosive relief rally take place for XRP. Whenever this government shutdown ends, we know that the SEC is going to be signing off on those ETFs, and a tremendous amount of inflows will be coming into this asset, along with some of our other favorite altcoins, setting us up for a generational trade opportunity that I want to make sure that you guys don't miss. Now, we got some big news to start off this week. Let's get right on into it, folks. Cointelegraph reporting that Ripple-backed Evernorth plans a U.S. listing aiming to raise over $1 billion and build the largest public XRP treasury. Now, this comes after last week, Bloomberg was reporting that Ripple was rumored to be starting up a digital asset treasury company, going to back one, right? And I know some people had said, oh, this is fake news. This isn't being reported by Ripple. This isn't true. And I told you guys that I'd heard from a little birdie that it was in fact true. And I said I could confirm it. Didn't have all the details, but I knew that some things were in motion. And sure enough, that little birdie wasn't lying to me. Ashish Burla is going to be taken over as CEO of Evernorth. And we're talking about a first of its kind institutional vehicle built to accelerate XRP adoption. With over a decade of uptime and a rapidly growing DeFi ecosystem, XRP is well positioned for adoption, and Evernorth is built to meet that moment. Absolutely love to see it, folks. Let's go to the press release for the key points right here. Evernorth Holdings, Inc., a newly formed Nevada corporation, will enable XRP adoption on an institutional scale. Today has announced its public launch and execution of a business combination agreement with Armada Acquisition Corp. Now, this is a publicly listed stock. AACI is the ticker for Armada, and this is how these digital asset treasury companies are being formed. And what's happening here is basically you'll get a group of investors that'll overtake a public company that's just at the bottom of the stock market. Basically, these are essentially zombie companies with very little value there, but they're already publicly listed. So it's a way for you to streamline that process of going public, right? And so what people will do, these investors, or in this case, Ripple with other investors, and you're going to see the list of investors in this deal, pretty impressive. They come in and they acquire this publicly listed company so that they can streamline that process and go live on the stock market right away. Now, this is going to be a business combination agreement with Armada Acquisition Corp., a publicly traded special purpose acquisition company. Upon closing of the transaction, the combined company will operate under the Evernorth name and is expected to trade on NASDAQ under the ticker symbol XRPN, subject to the satisfaction of the listing requirements. Now, there's been over a dozen companies saying that they're going to add XRP to their treasury. I haven't even really looked too deep on a lot of those and whether that would be a viable investment for me. But just off of who's backing this one, Ripple, their executives, and I'm going to show you the list of the other folks that are behind this, I'm going to tell you right now that I'm probably going to be buying this stock. I'm not in stocks, just looking at private equity opportunities myself. But I will be looking to probably acquire this one just to see how it plays out and knowing who is behind this deal. The transaction is expected to raise over $1 billion in gross proceeds, including $200 million from SBI. You guys know SBI, longtime Ripple partner. And in additional investments from Ripple, Ripple Works, and we're also looking at Pantera Capital, Kraken, and GSR. We also have Chris Larson, who's going to be adding in and joining the party. This is going to be a first of its kind treasury vehicle, publicly listed vehicle that allows you to get simple, liquid, and transparent exposure to XRP. Unlike a passive ETF, Evernorth seeks to grow XRP per share over time by participating in institutional lending, liquidity provisioning, and DeFi yield opportunities. This is so exciting, folks. Now, Ashish Burla, he comes from an executive position at Ripple, and he's now going to take over as CEO of Evernorth. And this is something that we've watched take place for years with Ripple, is they have these big hitters coming in, just an all-star team of executives and other, folks that have been working at Ripple, who once their mission is finished at Ripple, Ripple then deploys them into other roles and other partnerships, right? We see this time after time again. And it's so interesting, this revolving door at Ripple, where they bring in the biggest executives, bankers, even government officials, and the 43rd Treasurer of the United States, Rosie Rios, right? And then they also deploy staff and executives over to other companies to continue expanding the overall mission of, expanding XRP adoption, right? Now, you got Evernorth is led by CEO Ashish Birla. He's coming from Ripple. You also have Matthew Fremier, who is going to be the Chief Financial Officer, Chief Operating Officer Meg Nakamura, Chief Legal Officer Jessica Jonas, and Chief Business Officer Sagar Shah, who together bring extensive capital markets and financial management expertise to the leadership team. This is a big deal. We also have strategic investor, and this is going to be the advisors, Brad Greenhouse, Stuart Alderati, and David Schwartz are expected to serve as strategic advisors. There you go. Now, this is going to be big. They're going to be participating in running validators for the XRP ledger. We're going to get DeFi integration, and this is critical. We know how RLUSD was going to be key to DeFi. It's much easier to put up a stablecoin as collateral for DeFi than it is XRP. Because when you take out loans or use XRP as collateral, and that asset's very volatile, right? It can be difficult to engage in DeFi in a balanced and stable way without using a stable coin. And we really needed it in the XRP ledger ecosystem. Of course, Ripple delivered, and RLUSD is growing by market share rapidly. And I think that you're well on your way to seeing RLUSD become the number one stablecoin. More on that later in this episode. Check it out, folks. This is big. They're going to be providing liquidity and participating in projects that expand XRP's real-world utility across payments, capital markets, and tokenized assets. And once again, back to the DeFi, they're going to use RLUSD as the on-ramp into XRP-based decentralized finance, enabling yield opportunities and broader adoption of XRP as collateral. Okay, good. Now, the advisors, Citigroup. From debanking Brad Greenhouse to now coming to speak on stage at Ripple Swell Conference and being an advisor to this company. Okay. You also have serving as legal counsel, correct? Yep. I also wanted to show you guys, we have Arrington Capital. Michael Arrington, longtime friends with Brad Greenhouse. He was the founder of TechCrunch, longtime VC, right? He is going to be the SPAC sponsor for Armada Acquisition Corp. Okay. Additionally, RippleWorks investment in this PIPE transaction will be done through the Arrington XRP Capital Fund. Absolutely love to see it. Now, this has to go through the SEC, get the final approval, but once it does, right, what's the ticker going to be again? Let me check this real quick for you guys. It's going to be going under the ticker XRPN. So that's what we're going to be watching out for, is XRPN. Like I said, I'm not here to give anybody financial advice. I haven't bought into any of these digital asset treasury companies at all, but I will probably be buying into this one just based off of who's backing it. Absolutely. And that includes Chris Larson, who is going to be investing 50 million XRP in the firm. So if you see some, big whale movements from a Chris Larson wallet for 50 million XRP, now you know what it is. Don't panic, okay? He's not selling like the haters and the trolls wrongfully like to say they are doing, okay? I mean, once in a while, these guys have to sell off some XRP. That's okay. And mostly it's all OTC, so it has no, well, actually, all of it's OTC, so it has no market impact price. But the morons like to say, oh, Ripple's dumping on you. Not possible. They're selling OTC to institutions. Please get your game up and do a little bit better. If you're going to come troll over here, you got to step it up a little bit, okay? Now, this is big. This is on top of the announcement last week of G Treasury, right? The treasury management company that Ripple's now acquired for $1 billion. And this is where you get additional exposure for RLUSD. Now, Anders picked this one up, and I got to give him a shout out. Rather than convincing companies to adopt RLUSD from scratch, Ripple can now integrate its stablecoin directly into treasury management systems that thousands of companies already use daily. This is a power play by Ripple to truly position RLUSD as a top stablecoin. This is so important, okay, because they did the same thing with Hidden Road. Remember, Hidden Road is the largest prime brokerage platform outside of any bank in America, maybe the world. And so Hidden Road settles up $3 trillion per year at their prime brokerage. And Ripple said in the acquisition, they're now going to integrate RLUSD as the collateral for that $3 trillion of flows. And so what this does is it seamlessly integrates RLUSD on the XRP ledger into the background. So you don't have to convince, and with G Treasury, they're already using and partnered up with 13,000 banks, 2,000 more banks than Swift, by the way. And G Treasury is also integrated with Swift and JP Morgan, amongst others. The top banks and institutions in the world are using G Treasury's treasury management systems. And so what you do is you just put the use case of RLUSD on the back end. The clients don't even necessarily need to know or adopt. They don't even have to be into crypto. While these banks are still playing around in the sandbox with their little scoopers and the little Tonka trucks with Swift and proof of concepts, Ripple's just seamlessly integrating the DLT technology on the back end, and the front end user doesn't even need to know that the settlement's taking place. In the case of Hidden Road, prime brokerage platform, $3 trillion per year, RLUSD is going to be collateral. G Treasury, 13,000 banks, part of that partnership. 12 trillion in flows is what I saw last time I looked. I don't know if that's total that they've done over the life. This company's been around for 40 years. So I don't know if it took them 40 years to get that 12 trillion or if that's what they're doing on a yearly basis. But I think that that's what they're doing on a yearly basis. I'll confirm with you guys on that. 12 trillion, 13,000 member banks, and now RLUSD gets to be settlement on the back end. So instead of having to convince, and this is what Ripple's always done, right? We talked about this for years, where Ripple partners were not using and settling up with XRP, but Ripple was onboarding them. And David Schwartz said, yeah, we're going to bring them in using traditional rails, just sped up a little bit. And then we show them the secret sauce. We get them in the door. We get them to sit down at our table. And then we serve them up with the good stuff. And that's settlement with XRP, 3 to 5 seconds, and no pre-funded accounts, on-demand liquidity. Right? And now this is expanding with RLUSD as collateral for Hidden Road, 3 trillion, for G Treasury, 12 trillion. And you're also going to see this digital asset treasury company, Evernorth, is going to be expanding, on-ramping into XRP DeFi using RLUSD as well. Now, when does the number go up, Zach, is what many of you guys are asking. Well, I hope you're locked in because it's going up right now. Merlin, the trader, says altcoins are flashing a cycle level bottom. The third MACD cross in 8 years. Each one marked the start of an altcoin super cycle. This is how generational trades begin. Before the noise, before the hype, that's when we're buying. Absolutely. You bet. And we've been loading up. I told you guys that order block at 220 hit. We filled up and backed up the truck. And now I'm going to zoom in and show you that we're already back up here, 247, pushing up towards 250 this morning. Okay. And we bought this dip. I told you the order block was at 220. I told you I had my order placed at 225. That's how we play this game. We find order blocks. We find fibs. We front run it. We load up because we're fundamental investors. Okay. This isn't a day trade. Although I don't think it's going to be too many days before we're moving back up to the upside, folks. Just look at the fib levels zoomed in here. Big order block up here at 340 that will fill. Hope you're ready for that one. And that's just the start of the party, by the way. You look at the 3618 and the 4236 extensions on this fib retracement that we got, and we're back up to $3-4 XRP. If that's not exciting enough for you, let's zoom out on the macro. $3.66. We pull back all the way here to 220. No, I don't include this. This wasn't real. This was manipulation. This was not a real market of buyers and sellers under $2. Forget about it. Stop playing around with it. These little TA guys playing around. Let's stop being silly out here. You want to just keep it simple? That's what we do over here. I call my TA, remember, I'm not a guru. I got doofus moron TA for you, okay? So, I just keep it simple, stupid, just like my grandfather taught me, the old KISS principle. Now you zoom out on this fib retracement, we're going back up to $6 at the 2618. We're going back up $7.50 at the 3618. And if you want a full 4.236 extension, you got an $8 XRP. It's an explosive relief rally that's coming in, guaranteed. You got these TA guys that want to give you a weather report. It might go up, it might go down, it might rain, it might shine. I'm here to tell you it's going to shine like never before, baby, and I hope that you are loaded up. You just had a tremendous buying opportunity at $2.20. And for any of you guys that were able to get in orders under $2, praise God, because this sucker's on its way to a new all-time high. 100%. And that's just simple math off of the ETF inflows alone. Look no further than the ETF inflows and throw a conservative multiplier on that. You're looking at new all-time highs for XRP, and you're on your way to a double-digit $20 to $30 XRP. Could happen faster than I am maybe mentioning, right? Because I say $20 to $30 by next year. Might happen sooner. And we are ready, because every time they give us an opportunity to buy XRP under its fundamental value, we are taking advantage of that. All right, folks, it's going to be a busy week. We're already off to a great start. I appreciate your support. Real quick before we do go, I want to plug in our sponsor, iTrustCapital, because if you've been looking to get exposure and you can't get exposure to crypto through your 401k now, we have the solution for you. This is why I tap them in as a community resource, iTrustCapital. You can roll over that 401k today to a crypto IRA with iTrustCapital. You also can just invest in their premium custody account, take advantage of institutional grade custody, buy and sell crypto 24/7 with low cost and no monthly fee. Absolutely love to see it. But they have the traditional Roth and SEP IRA, and you can roll over from your 401k, 403b, TSP, 457, and other. And I just want to say, I was at a family get together, friends and family over the weekend, and we were talking about this, about how, some people I was talking with had 401ks or TSPs, I think, and they, didn't know that there was a way to get exposure to crypto. And I mentioned to them at the family get together while we're having a good time, right? I say, hey, I just tapped in a sponsor, not here to shill at the family get together, but I only shill what I believe in. And these are community resources that are getting folks exposure to crypto today. So a huge shout out to iTrustCapital. I told them you can get plugged in, you can roll over today and get exposure to crypto. So you don't have to miss this opportunity. Okay? So once again, you're going to use my promo code RECTOR9 to get that $100 funding bonus, folks. I'll show you here, all caps, RECTOR9 to get that $100 funding bonus. They're linked up at the top of the description. I appreciate your support. God bless you all. We'll see you in the next one. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.